Well, welcome back to Health Made Easy. I'm your host, Dr. Jason Jones, and this is a bonus episode. I have got my friend, Miss Sara Banta, on the podcast today. She's been on before. She is a health coach. She is a natural supplement expert. She's a busy mom of 3 teenagers. She runs an amazing company called Accelerated Health Products, and which has incredible supplements. She completed her undergraduate studies at Stanford with a degree in economics and psychology. She's a super sharp, super smart lady. She also graduated from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, just like I did. Like I said, she's got 3 busy teenagers, but she's also had the opportunity to solve a broad spectrum of health issues affecting literally every single family member that is in her family, including herself. And as a result of that, over the last 15 years, she has been able to come up with and design a lot of alternative health solutions. And I would call her a natural health warrior. Enjoy this podcast with Miss Sara Banta. All right. Well, welcome back to Health Made Easy. This is your host, Dr. Jason Jones, and I am super excited for my guest today. This is a repeat guest. We had Miss Sara Banta on about a year ago, and it was definitely one of my favorite podcasts that I ever did, but also one of the ones that I learned the most from. So, Sara, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on.
Thanks for having me back, Jason. How are you this morning?
Oh, doing quite well. I know you're coming to us from California, and I know that maybe many of our listeners heard the last episode that we had with you, but maybe they didn't. So I'd like to start by just having you introduce yourself, sort of who you are, what you do, how you kind of got on this journey of natural health, and then we'll dive right into our topic today.
All righty. Well, for those of you who don't know me, and Jason, a lot has happened in a year, so there's new stuff to report. I am a mom of 3 teenagers. I am a natural health expert, and I did not start out in this business. I was going into real estate after my years at Stanford, and then going into the stock market, and then got pregnant, and my own health was starting to fail, and then progressively got worse and worse. And then my son, at the age of 9, was diagnosed with leukemia. And so that put me in a whole different ballpark as far as what my goal in life was to do. And when he looked at me and said, "Mom, you're going to fix me," I knew that I had to change my path and learn as quickly as I could about natural health solutions, because Western medicine at the time did not do me any favors. And so I had to find some other solutions for myself. So that put me on the path of learning and diving really deep into natural solutions. And that was when I first was introduced to the scalar silver, which is now known as the accelerated silver. And that is what literally brought my son back to health. Within a year, his leukemia was gone. Not only that, but his his cells, there were no cancer cells left, and his cells were nice and happy and plump and alkaline, and there were no nutritional deficiencies. And I just thought, you know what, I have to share this with the world. So that is a quick snapshot of the beginning of my journey. And I just progressively learned more and more and wanted to stay on the cutting edge of supplements. And so even in the last year, Jason, I have really put together my brand of supplements is Accelerated Health Products. And I specialize in scalar technology and advanced frequency-based supplements and devices that help heal the body. You know, we always talk about supplements and medication and food, which is so important. But there's this whole other world of energy nutrition or energy healing. And it's been around for years and years and years, back from the times of Rife and Tesla and these people that were so way beyond their years. And it's really taken a whole new turn as far as my business. And it's really exciting because I feel like there's so much more for me to learn as well. And so in the last year, I also have created my own podcast and TV show, Accelerated Health Radio and TV. And it is on YouTube, Facebook, and across all the podcast platforms. And I also do little accelerated health bites, which are very similar to what you do with the short snippets of a topic and health problems, symptoms, and solutions. So people can find those on my YouTube channel and on my website, acceleratedhealthproducts.com. So that's where I am right now. And I'm really excited because the more I learn, the more I realize I want to learn, and there is to learn.
Cool. I know we'll probably be talking about some supplements and products today with the topic that we have, but I do want to say that since we talked last year, and I think even before we did the podcast together, we started utilizing the accelerated silver in our own home, but we also use the acceleridine, the iodine as well, and we just love that. And I love the fact that it's just like it's so pungent when you smell it. I mean, it's just like wow. They'll just wake you up in the morning, because I've tried a bunch of different iodines over the years, and we definitely just love that one the best. So the topic that we're going to have today is we're going to talk about radiation detoxification. Now, before we get into that, now detoxification for me has a certain meaning, because I had amalgam illness where I had the silver fillings in the mouth, and basically you're mercury poisoned, and it really wrecked me for a bit. And until I met some really smart guys to show me how to eliminate and detoxify that stuff out of my system very safely, and get the amalgams removed safely, all of that. When we talk about radiation, what are we talking about specifically with radiation? Like what types of radiation? And then when you talk about detoxification, tell us what you mean by that.
Great question. So with radiation, we're talking about the radiation from the smart meters, from your cell phones, and then also the radiation from X-rays and from flying in a commercial flight, from the EMFs that we're exposed to, and now we're facing the threat of 5G. So this is going to be something that some people say, well, it's coming regardless of what we do, and that's not necessarily true. There is a way to fight it and to get your voice heard, as we're all learning that we need our voices heard in this election environment in general. But so all types of radiation, and also with that, I'm also want to talk about the detoxing of heavy metals and the GMOs that are infiltrating our food systems. We are under fire as far as what our bodies are being exposed to, and it's not like what our ancestors were exposed to before. And now the topic of the vaccine. The vaccines have all of the mercury in it, the thimerosal, the other toxins that people don't realize, and they think, well, the government's looking out for us. The vaccines are safe. Well, actually, in order for a vaccine to work, you need to have poison in that vaccine for your body to wake up and say, oh my gosh, I'm being attacked. Let's attack back, right? So if you were just to inject for the polio vaccine, for instance, if you were just to inject the polio virus, your body really wouldn't react without those other ingredients in that vaccine. And those ingredients are so toxic to the body. There have not been studies on it. So that's another thing that we really want to be careful with. So, make your own decision. But it is something that we also need to detox from. And I have people that come to me and say, oh my gosh, and I actually had this call yesterday. My friend just got the flu vaccine, and she now can't hear in one ear, and she's an adult, she's not a child, and she's got ringing in the other ear, and she's going crazy. What should she do? So I gave my recommendation for supplements, but of course, the best thing to have done in the first place is to improve your immune system so that you don't have a severe reaction to getting the flu in the first place, right?
Right. Because we're all going to get exposed to some degree. You can't eliminate, every virus, every bacteria, and those things are normal and healthy. For us to become exposed to, they've been around for thousands and thousands of years, and and it is sad, when those that are immune compromised, or maybe they have like multiple comorbidities. and they are susceptible to a negative event that happens. Either they get really, really ill, or eventually they die. Again, those are very sad things. And anytime anybody loses their life, it's very sad. But at the same time, it is, our responsibility to make sure that we are as strong as we can possibly be and set ourselves up for, success with our own health. Because, as I like to say, ain't nobody coming to save you.
No.
You gotta, unfortunately, you gotta do it yourself. So go right
Well,
ahead.
you just touched on something. The people that are being hit hardest by the current threat or even just the regular flu are the immune compromised. Well, who do you think is going to be affected negatively by the vaccine with these poisons? Those same people. They're the ones that are going to be hit the hardest. And so, take your choice as to which way you're going to get more debilitated. And by taking in those other poisons, you're compromising your immune system even more. So with that, it's difficult with all of these toxins and the radiation. And I wanted to just touch on the symptoms of radiation poisoning, because people don't realize what is the cell phone doing to me. And believe me, I have my cell phone with me all day long. I'm in front of my computer, so I have to protect myself as well as everybody else. But radiation attacks the nervous system, including our brain. It attacks our endocrine or hormonal systems. And many will find a disruption in their hormonal balance that can't be explained by any other source. They've got their diet and their exercise and their sleep all intact, and something's not right with their hormones. It also produces oxidative stress and free radical damage, which leads to all the chronic diseases. It attacks the DNA of our cells, which in turn produces cancers and mutations in germ-line cells, which then produce mutations in generations to come. So what you're doing today is going to affect your children's children. So you're not just affecting you, you're affecting your whole genetic line. It also leads to neurodegenerative diseases and infertility. And I don't know if you've noticed the amount of infertility nowadays versus 30 years ago. It's significant. I know more people that are having issues getting pregnant that then can get pregnant on their own. And I also know a lot of men in their 20s and early 30s that are having issues in the bedroom. And that's not normal. That's a disease that is supposed to happen later in life.
Well, we're carrying this thing around in our pocket.
Yes.
Exactly. Or it's in the chest pocket, which I think is super scary. To do that. And I think, it's like, to what you're saying, people can look this up on their own. And the little booklet that comes with the phone, which nobody reads, by the way, tells you that you should have this phone minimally like an inch off of your head when you're using it. But we've all had that experience where we've used it for a period of time before we knew better, and you could feel the heat, coming off of this thing. And it's just really crazy. So for me, like, I almost never, ever have this thing up here. Either have it on speakerphone and I have it like way out here, or I've got the headphones so that I'm not doing that. I put it on airplane mode as often as I possibly can. I'm like you. I'm on the phone. I'm on social media. I'm taking care of patients. I'm in front of my computer because just no other way to do certain things. So I just think that the average person just has no idea about these kinds of things. And I'm glad we're talking about this today.
Yeah. And I've noticed once I got my newer phone, which is one of the newer models, my hands start tingling if I'm holding the phone too long. I literally can feel it in my hands. And I try as much as I can, like you, to have it on speaker and to put it down as I'm talking. I do not answer the phone if I cannot have it on speaker. Absolutely, unless it's a SOS call from my kids. But other than that, I don't. And but also, just like we were talking about, it causes lower male and female fertility, lower sex hormones, lower libido, and increased levels of spontaneous abortion. So that's a serious issue. It produces excessive intracellular calcium and excessive calcium signaling. And it can also lead to early onset of dementia and Alzheimer's, which is skyrocketing as well. And then lastly, while in utero, shortly after birth, it may cause ADHD or autism. So the autism rates are going through the roof. I know out of my friend group of 10 coming out of high school, 10 kids, two moms have severely autistic kids. And then there are 4 kids that are, in the gray zone where they're not functioning 100%. They're not totally diagnosed as ADHD or autistic. They're ADHD, but they're not autistic. So I would say that almost every single one of my friends have at least one child that is ADHD.
Yeah.
And most of my clients have at least one child that is suffering from ADHD and is on some sort of medication or some sort of medication for an antidepressant. And these are kids. These are young kids.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that with all of these things, our bodies, our brains, our nervous systems, basically every organ, tissue, cell, and system that we have is constantly under this stress bombardment, all of the time. So when it comes to what we can do, as just average Joes, what do you recommend as far as being able to detoxify from the radiation bombardment?
Well, number one, obviously a clean, healthy diet, right? So that's what we're gonna start with is go organic as much as you can, because the GMOs and the Roundup, the glyphosate on the regular food source is really ripping holes in our gut and causing leaky gut, which is then causing a cascade of issues where you're getting hormonal issues. Your hormones are made in the gut. And I know you've talked about leaky gut and the gut in general, and you do a great job, and I'm on board with everything you're talking about. So that would be number one. So I don't need to go into that too much. But even our organic food source is getting some of those GMOs infiltrated. So everybody needs to detox.
Yeah.
The number one thing, the accelerated silver. And the reason being is this is going to be your number one way to boost the immune system, and your immune system does naturally detox itself. So with this silver, it is alkaline, which is the only silver supplement I know of that is alkaline and not acidic. Foreign pathogens have a hard time surviving in an alkaline environment, and it causes the body to stay into an anti-inflammatory state. It uses Tesla scalar technology to cancel out the negative frequencies in the body and help devitalize those viruses, bacteria, and all foreign pathogens. So with the current threat is now, this is going to help boost the immune system and help fight that off as well. In addition to help balance your own body's immune system to help detox from radiation, heavy metals, and the other substances we're trying to get rid of. And number two, right there with it is what we were talking about earlier, is the accelerating iodine. Now, people don't realize the benefits of iodine, and we touched on a few of them earlier, but people think about iodine as just for your thyroid, right? Well, if your thyroid does not have enough iodine in it, all of the receptor sites will attract the other things from chemistry class, all in the halogen family, the bromine, the fluorine, and the chlorine. And what happens if those receptor sites don't have enough iodine? Those things get in there, the radiation gets in there, they fill those receptor sites, cause disruption, cause Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, and cause just disease in general. Well, what people don't realize is there's 4 times the amount of receptor sites in the breast tissue as there is in the thyroid. So by taking enough iodine, you are decreasing your risk of breast cancer and all cancers by about 50% at least.
Yeah.
So it's really important for every cell in the body. Iodine's known as the metabolic mineral for stimulating the metabolism, increasing energy, and activating the immune system and building your health in general. I, like you were talking about with the acceleratine and how strong it is, within the first week of me taking it, mind you, I had been taking iodine supplements for years and years and years. I felt my brain wake up. And why that was happening was it detoxes your pineal gland from all the fluoride that is stuck in there. And your pineal gland is your third eye. So it is your connection to your higher self. So all of a sudden, that brain fog lifts, you feel more connected to your spiritual and your mental and your physical health. All of them are working together. So it's also necessary for assimilating key minerals such as calcium and silica, and vitamins such as B12 and D. And like I said, removes the fluoride and the chlorine, the bromide. And one thing I just wanted to mention about bromide, I'm in California. We've suffered from a lot of fires, and we're suffering from one right now. We need to double up on our iodine because they are putting these fires out with bromide. So we're breathing. Yes, we need the fires to be put out, correct? But we need to detox our body from the bromide that we are now being showered with, all the ash that's coming down into my house. I just told my family, double up on your dose of acceleratine because that will help detox and keep those toxins out of the body.
I like that. Okay. And I'd like to touch on that really quickly because you talked about the thyroid gland. And I think that people don't understand the role that the thyroid gland plays in your immune system and how your blood filters through there approximately, I think it's like 17 times a day. And that iodine is utilized as part of your immune system to be able to combat, viruses, bacteria, those kinds of things that used to be used in the water supply, for that very purpose. But now they're using the fluoride at this point, like you talked about earlier, which basically like calcifies our pineal gland and really just does disconnect us, sort of mentally and emotionally, and just whacks out all kinds of things. So when it comes to iodine and how much someone should maybe be taking in a day, how would they go about doing that? What would they start with?
So with the acceleratine, because it's so strong, you want to start slow because as you're feeding your body the iodine, you're kicking out a lot of toxins. And you don't want to overburden your body with toxins as it's filtering things out. And we'll go through a couple other steps that will help clear those toxins out of the body quicker. So I recommend starting with 3 drops in water 3 times a day on an empty stomach, and then you slowly increase by 1 drop per dose per day until you get to 20 drops 3 times a day in water. And you will want to make sure you dilute it. It literally burns your nose hairs because it's so strong. But and after about 4 months, if you find that you feel saturated with iodine, and you can always do a patch test on your skin, where you put a couple drops on your skin, and if it disappears within 30 minutes, you are still deficient. So keep going on that protocol. But because of all the toxins in the world that we're being exposed to, I recommend not going below 15 drops 3 times a day. I still do 20 drops every single day, and I know I'm very consistent. And it's needed just because of the world we live in. So yes, and you are right. It is the key. The thyroid is the key organ for the immune system. And when hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's are linked to depression and a lot of other diseases, metabolic diseases. With iodine also supports apoptosis, which is programmed cell death of unhealthy cells. And it protects against cancer and facilitates anti-aging. Who doesn't want that? So it also activates hormonal receptors. And so it's really important to your hormone balance as well. And it increases in all the tissues, produce more ATP. So it actually produces a healthy 36 ATPs through the Krebs cycle, which has profound implications on all functions of the body, including the brain. And when we're low in iodine, we tend to transition into glycolysis, which only produces 2 ATP, bypassing the normal Krebs cycle. So the significantly lower ATP production contributes to that low life force, the chi in your body, the drive, and the propensity to actually get diseased. It also helps with breast health, like I said. So it helps fibrocystic breast disease. So it prevents it. And iodine, no one would ever think this, decreases insulin needs in diabetics.
Yeah.
So it also helps.
Not to interrupt you there, but iodine is a mineral, a nutrient, however you want to describe it, that every gland that is a regulating gland in the body utilizes it. And most all organs, tissues, and cells utilize it, but definitely your regulating glands, like your pancreas, like your thyroid, like your adrenal glands, use that. And I'm glad you brought up fibrocystic breast, because that goes way back. I mean, like early 1900s nutrition literature. That was like the cure for fibrocystic breast, was to consume iodine. Back really, really old school textbooks on nutrition, and these are probably even like medical texts back in the day. That was how they solved that problem. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's really important. It helps with protein synthesis. So if you're deficient in iodine, its protein synthesis is disturbed. The thyroid hormone has 2 effects. It increases the protein synthesis and increases oxygen consumption. So the thyroid hormones are essential for the life, and they keep these reactions, including protein synthesis, enzymatic activities like you're talking about, and targets the organs in development of the brain, the heart, the muscles, pituitaries, and the kidneys. And so they're very important for the fetus, for a pregnant mom. And people always say, is my child too young to take iodine? Absolutely not. It is connected. A low iodine is connected to mental retardation. And by taking more, you actually increase your IQ. And then, of course, with what we're fighting with right now, it destroys pathogens, molds, fungus, parasites, and even malaria. So with what we're going on right now, it's really important to take. And it was used during the 1918 Spanish flu to fight that pandemic, and where 30 million people died. So people were using it back then, and then it was kind of lost with the advent of the antibiotics. But it's still around and can be helping you now. It helps.
Effective. Our human genome has not changed.
Exactly.
So we're the same people that we were, 100 years ago.
Yeah. It helps reduce inflammation, and all disease is coming from inflammation. So as it reduces the inflammation, helps boost the immune system, helps your body get back to that homeostasis. And then like I mentioned before, it eliminates the toxic halogens like bromine, chlorine, and fluorine in the body. And it regulates estrogen production in the ovaries. So a lot of women that have issues with their hormones, too much estrogen, too little, too much testosterone, it really helps regulate those hormones. And this is the amazing thing. It hydrates you. So by its mechanism in the body, without drinking water, it is actually hydrating the cells. And it prevents heart disease. Like you had mentioned before, the thyroid regulates the heart, and hypothyroidism leads to heart disease. So the use of high iodine supplementation has been shown to prevent heart disease. And then what we're talking about today, it protects us from the EMFs.
Yeah.
So now with the smart meters, and you should all check on your homes if you have smart meters, you can call your power company and say, I want one of the old analog smart meters or meters put back on my house. I do not want a smart meter. That is something you should do today. If you've taken nothing else from this conversation, you need to call and get that smart meter off your house. You have the power to do it. I did it, and I have a funny story. When I ordered one, the man that called me back, he said, okay, Sarah, I've got 3 in stock. I'll have one sent to your house. I'm personally taking one. And if you have another friend, have them call me right away. So I thought that was pretty funny that the guy from the company was actually replacing his own smart meter.
Very smart of him to do that. So we've got for detoxing, clean diet, accelerated silver, iodine. Anything else? Anything else we need to be thinking about?
Yes. Okay. So number 3, nuke no more. This is the only supplement that I have found that it does this. It is a scalar charge. So as we're talking about frequency-based healing, it is a scalar charged Ormus formula that supports the removal of harmful internal radio contamination from nuclear fallout, smog, ionizing X-rays in commercial flying, as well as the non-ionizing radiation from smart meters, smartphones, and all the other electro pollution. So it's able to also detox you from heavy metals. And there is nothing like this. It tastes like water. You put 10 drops under your tongue after your first dose of acceleradine. So you do your acceleradine, take the nuke no more. And really, people only need 1 to 2 bottles ever. I say that unless they are then exposed to heavy radiation down the road again. If they're going flying, if someone goes on a flight, I recommend doing it for a week during the flight and afterwards. But really, it keeps you zeroed out from radiation for a long time after you have taken it. So it's a phenomenal supplement. And then number 4, the accelerated cellular detox powder. And when I was talking earlier about supplements to quicken the detoxification of the halogens, toxins that are being kicked out of the cells from the iodine, this is the detox powder, because what it does is it soaks up all those toxins, the heavy metals, and the radiation, and carries them gently through your intestinal tract instead of your kidneys and your liver being bombarded. And this is a blend of 6 organic detoxification ingredients that help soak up toxins, including the heavy metals, alcohol, food poisoning, radiation. It also kills parasites and fungus. It includes zeolite, and zeolite benefits. They include detoxing the toxins from the body, including ammonia and heavy metals, and binding them up for that safe removal. It also helps cleanse the whole digestive tract, and it helps with regularity, heals colitis, ulcers, and reduces intestinal inflammation. So as you were talking in your past podcast about healing the gut and digestion, this is something that everyone needs to help enforce that strong gut and get yourself back into homeostasis.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's say that we have some listeners where they want to know, are there some things that they can do other than, turning their cell phone off, other than maybe turning off the Wi-Fi at nighttime? Are there some other things that they can do non-supplement wise to mitigate some of the negative effects of radiation?
Yes. So non-supplement wise, and I'm so glad you asked this question, because this is where I'm really excited in what I've come across is frequency-based healing with devices like the AMP coil. Now, this AMP coil is something that you are hooked up to. It does a voice. It's a biofeedback, bioresonant sound, and PMF machine. It's all in one. You do a voice recording into like an iPad tablet, and through your voice frequency and Tesla technology, it scans your body for what heavy metals or toxins or viruses or foreign pathogens that are putting imbalances in your body. And then through the treatment of the AMP coil, it then will balance those out. So this is a pretty large, I shouldn't say large, it fits in a backpack, but that is one solution. And then what I've just come across and I use every single day is this new app called the Genius Insight app. And you put it on your phone, ironically, as we're trying to stay away from the phone, right? But what it does, same technology where you are scanning yourself and what's going on in your body, hormonal imbalances, heavy metals, air pollution. Like I just scanned myself this morning, and because of the fires, air pollution is on my top hit of what my body is saying, please get this out of me. And so through frequency based healing, it goes in and plays a sound, or through vibration, it is canceling out those negative frequencies in my body and putting it back into homeostasis. So that is helping with EMFs, heavy metals, radiation exposure. And it also does things like just calming the brain down, or if you need to relax, or if you have anxiety, or if you have grief, sadness, any emotions that are out of balance. It even scans you for leaky gut and any gut imbalances. I mean, I could go on and on for this. And the great thing about that, it's so convenient. You can carry it around on your cell phone all day long and get treatment. So it's phenomenal. And then the last thing I would say is there's something called the rest shield. And this is something you have, the Rest Shield and the Home Shield, and they're both on my website. The Rest Shield is a smaller version of the Home Shield, but this is more than just an EMF protection shield, but it puts kind of you in a bubble, in your home in a bubble, and it cancels out some of the EMFs that you're being exposed to. Is it negating it to 100%? No. The best thing to do is to go out in nature and get rid of your cell phone, but we're not talking about that because that's not realistic. So it's helping with the electromagnetic pollution and all the technologies, the cell phones, computers, and wireless networks that we're being exposed to. And just it literally puts like a 15 to 20 foot radius protection energy bubble around you. That's the Rest Shield. The Home Shield is much bigger, so you need one for a home that's 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. One Home Shield is perfect, and actually, it has been shown to negate the chemtrails that they're spraying on you as well.
Gotcha. Now, is the Home Shield, is that device that's like about like this big? It's like a little cylinder.
Yes,
that's been around for a while, right?
Well, this is from a website, Fresh and Alive. Ken Rolla is phenomenal. He's my mentor when it comes to all EMFs and all of the damage that is being done. And it's just, I think there are different versions of Home Shield. So I don't know if we're talking about the exact same one, but I'm sure it's the same technology.
Okay. Yeah, because I know we've had something similar to that for, probably over 10 years, easy. It's an interesting technology, to say the least. So, yeah, I'm glad we're touching on this because I don't think we've ever done this topic on the podcast before. And quite frankly, I think most folks just don't even think about it. It's just like, it's just normal. You can't get away from it. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. It's part of modern living, and those kinds of things. And that certainly is true to some degree. Now, if you had to say, let's say that people had to pick the top three things out of everything that you've talked about so far, but they could only pick 3 to do, what would be the top 3?
Well, that's easy. I've put them in my radiation and thyroid detox bundle, and that is the silver, the acceleradine, and the Nuke No More. Okay. So those 3, hands down. And what's great too is not only is it detoxing you from the radiation and heavy metals, but it's boosting your immune system stronger than just taking one of those, your immune system is going to be boosted. And here you're getting it from 3 different angles, and it's like your immune system's rock solid. I know for a fact, because it came up on my scan, that I've been exposed to the virus. Have I felt even a blip in my immune system? No.
Right.
So it's just, it speaks for itself. And then one thing you just mentioned, as far as people thinking they can't do anything about it, the last thing I want to encourage people to look into is to educate themselves. And there's a website, inpowermovement.com. And you can actually stop the installation of the 5G towers and the smart meters and stop forced vaccinations through their movement. And what they talk about is this loophole in the Constitution. So I'll leave it at that because it's really exciting, and hope, you do have power. You do have a say, you do have a voice. And the 2020 is truly the year of perfect vision and all of these things coming out and being exposed. So like that, we are learning of these loopholes in the government system of how we can work around it.
Yeah, and I think that kind of speaks to like an awakening, if you will, because we all have blind spots, until we recognize that they are blind spots, and then we just kind of check them, periodically. And the more that we learn, and the more that we actually apply, into our lives, that's how health is created. Health is not created with a grand slam, this one hit wonder, type thing. It's about, like you're talking about, doing the right things at the right time and doing them consistently over time. That's how you change your body. That's how you change your health. That's how you change a community. That's how you change, a nation and a world, and create a healthier culture of people that quite frankly, collectively start making much better decisions for not only our own selves, our own families, but our societies. And I really do hope that 2020 is a catalyst for that type of thing. There's many professions that have been trying to pull that off for a very long time, and it's seems daunting and almost impossible. But I know that as each individual person improves and gets better over time and healthier over time, they're going to make better decisions, and then ultimately things will start to change in a positive way. And they're already doing that. I just, for us, it just can't happen fast enough. So.
Yeah, and one thing I just wanted to touch on, if you asked my 16-year-old self that if I were going to be in the health business and doing podcasts and radio shows in front of people, I would have said, no way, that's not my personality. But when I got on this journey, it wasn't about me. It was about my purpose. And I have to do this. Yep. I have to share my knowledge. And it's about helping others. And really, we are one. And as you improve your health, we improve as a collective. And you literally increase your frequency of life, and you increase your vibration, and you attract health, you attract abundance, you attract the good people in your life. Things start changing in a positive way, and you just keep going. And I truly believe that is my calling, as you do as well. And people like us, the more people doing what we're doing, the better our world is going to be.
100%. I totally agree. And you know what? I know that you and I we could talk all day about this stuff because we totally geek out on it, and I know I do. But what I do want to do is I do want to wrap up, but I want to give people the opportunity to be able to connect with you, learn more not only about you, but about your awesome products. And there's a couple on here that I have not tried. I'm going to order them today, and I'm going to use them myself. But tell people how they can get a hold of you, how they can connect with you. You talked about your podcast and those kinds of things, but maybe like your website and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can find everything, all the products and all of my health articles. There's a ton of information. I think on there, and I have all of my podcasts as well, even our first podcast. Yeah. And that's at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Accelerated Health Products and Facebook Accelerated Health Products. I do my live show on Wednesday mornings, 8 a.m. Pacific time on Facebook and YouTube under Accelerated Health Products, or Accelerated Health Radio, sorry. And if you have questions about your own health, if you have a specific issue that we haven't touched on today, happy to put together a protocol for you. Just email me through the website or through DM me through Facebook or Instagram. I'm happy to help. I always love people asking me about specific health topics because it gives me inspiration on doing my little short health bites that I do, the short videos. because if you've got the question, I'm sure 100 other people do. So I'm very available. I specialize in detox, rebuilding the leaky gut and the protocols for that. And I also specialize in a ketogenic low carb diet.
Gotcha. Awesome. Love all of that stuff. So, Sara, thank you so much for coming on. I will put links in the show notes. I'll put links below the video wherever you're watching this. And links to the podcast as well, so that you guys can check Sara out. And again, Sara, thank you so much for coming on. And we got to do it again sometime soon. Maybe we won't wait a year this time.
Right. I would definitely before another year's up.
Cool.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Jason.
Well, have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.